Okay, before we call the meeting, I'm sorry, we don't have a microphone that's working, the microphone that's up here, we don't have a battery.
What kind of battery it take?
It takes a 9-volt battery.
Oh, sorry.
So. Oh,
Are they knocking on the door?
on the window? I believe the building is open. Okay. All right, Dr. Nancy J. Williams, I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your last name?
O'Hare.
O'Hare.
Yes.
You have the floor, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Nancy J. Williams O'Hare. This is part 2 of my last week's executive summary. If we are to incorporate our new city as communities of healing arts for the well-being of the person, family, and community, the main reason for my executive summaries in this meeting is to direct us in doing business in unity and adopt those practices that facilitate a change in that direction. It's not enough to have meetings without having a mission to stand on. Therefore, I propose as we begin our community mission meetings, we should keep in mind where we're going and have a discussion around it. Although districts are necessary, they can separate the grander purpose of why we exist. Therefore, we should ask ourselves, why are we here? Why did we vote to become our new city? And the mission for which we can stand together. Every city, if it is to be a thriving city, must have a strong body of government, the soul of its people, and the spirit of vibrancy to personify itself as one body. The new city of Stonecrest has an opportunity and infrastructure of several main areas. The Stonecrest City Center District with government, shopping, and entertainment, our national heritage area, and Arabian Mountain as a national focal point of interest, and other rich history like the Flat Rock Archives, the Browns Mill Aquatic Center, history like Aware Animal Rescue Center. It is my desire as we incorporate a mission to stand on as we do business within our city on a local and federal level, keeping in mind communities of healing arts for the person, family, and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Williams O'Hare was the only speaker signed up for this evening. So therefore, we will commence with calling this meeting to order. Can we get all members of the Stonecrest, the Governor's Commission on the City of Stonecrest seated? Before we begin our business, I'd like to start with a brief invocation, so please let us bow our heads. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to come and serve our fellow man and community. We ask that you bless this meeting with cooperation, with brotherhood, fellowship, and understanding. We ask that you bless all of our endeavors this evening, that we be open-minded, that we be respectful, and that we always strive to the betterment of our neighbors, our community, and our nation. We ask all these things in your holy name. Amen. Amen. Thank you all for coming. I'm not at my best today, so I will try to get through these agenda items before we get to the community committee activities for this evening. Does any member, before we get started, I wanted to recognize any of our elected officials who are here. And so far, I only see our resident school board representative, Ms. Vicki Turner, who is a proud resident of the city of Stonecrest. I also wanted to recognize the duly sworn police chief of the city of Lithonia, who's also with us this evening. Okay, and do we have any updates or comments from any of the commission members before we get started with our business items, our business agenda items? At the end? Okay. All right then, we'll get right to it. As it showed on the agenda that was published both online and in various newspapers. We did communicate our public meeting notice and agenda to the legal organ 24 hours prior to this meeting being called to order. We will move directly to agenda item number 3, which is a consideration of a resolution to name commission's legal counsel. Each member of the commission has a copy of all of our agenda items this evening, distributed on their desks. The first item is the Governor's Commission on City of Stonecrest resolves to retain the services of Coleman Talley LLP, represented by Mr. Thompson Curry, attorney at law. Mr. Curry is present with us this evening to provide legal counsel to the commission through the process of publishing and evaluating requests for bids, requests for qualifications, intergovernmental negotiations, and other purposes. Mr. Curry did submit to us a biography as well as an overview of his firm and the work that they have done throughout the years, particularly in municipal law. Mr. Curry also assisted the Stonecrest City Alliance and the Stonecrest Yes campaign with any and all legal counsel through that time. And so I'd like to hear a motion and a second. In order to begin any discussion necessary from the Board of Commissioners.
I motion to begin discussion.
We have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr.
I'm gonna be a dissenting vote, not as much in terms of who we're voting on this evening, more in terms of how. We talked a little bit about this last meeting, and we did get the resume and biographical information from Mr. Curry, and I certainly appreciate that. But for me, I would have liked to have had an opportunity to vet at least a couple of the candidates. But I do understand that because of the sensitivity of time, the calendar that's before us, particularly the election calendar, there's some things we need to get done, and we do need counsel. But I just want to explain to the public who may have missed last meeting, that will be why I will be dissenting tonight. It's not a matter of who, but it's a matter of how the process is.
Okay. We did, I guess unilaterally, I did unilaterally present Coleman Talley because of the work that they've done and primarily because of the short time frame that we have. We have less than 90 days to set the city up, to make negotiations, to issue RFPs, and develop a recommendation for the mayor and city council. There's no way binds the city to continue any employment that we take on for the commission. This is only a position to advise the governor's commission. This is in no way a commitment of the city of Stonecrest or its duly elected government. Any other discussion? Okay, I call for a vote. All in favor of approving Coleman Talley as legal counsel for the Commission on the City of Stonecrest, please vote by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no?
Thank you.
The resolution passes by a vote of 4-1. Agenda item number 4. Governor's Commission on the City of this is a consideration of a resolution to publish a request for qualifications for city attorney. Agenda item number 4 reads, the Governor's Commission on the City of Stonecrest resolves to author and publish a request for qualifications for city attorney for the City of Stonecrest to fulfill such role as stipulated in section 3.08 of the Stonecrest City Charter, also known as Senate Bill 208. This allows the commission to author and then publish publicly a request for qualifications from any and all firms to be considered to be the city attorney for the City of Stonecrest. This is only to compile a listing and to make a recommendation to the duly elected government of the City of Stonecrest once they take office following the election. So this is not a move to hire, but as opposed but actually to compile a listing of qualified candidate firms, which would then be decided on. The final decision would lie with the elected mayor and city council on the city of Stonecrest. Do I have a motion from the board to commence discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we publish the request for the city attorney.
Okay,
I'll second that.
you have a second? Do we have any discussion? All in favor of publishing the RFQ for city attorney for the city of Stonecrest, vote by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, vote by next saying nay. This resolution passes by a vote, by unanimous vote, 5-0. Consider, agenda item number 5, consideration of a resolution to publish a request for qualifications for provision of city services. The item reads, the Governor's Commission on City of Stonecrest resolves to author and publish a request for qualifications for the provision of city services. Such invitation to submit bids shall be open to governmental agencies and private firms, both nonprofit and for-profit. What this does is basically allow us to put out a bid for qualifications for agencies to provide services that the city is directly responsible for. In other words, that allows the city the flexibility to either hire an existing government agency, such as a DeKalb County agency or an agency of a neighboring city, or to contract with a nonprofit agency or a for-profit corporation to provide basic city services that the city would be responsible for providing directly, namely code enforcement, parks and recreation, and zone planning and zoning as stipulated at the time that the bill was passed and the referendum took place. That's our explanation. Is there any clarity needed on what this resolution is about? Do we have a motion to consider the resolution from the commission?
I motion to consider the resolution.
Okay, we have a second? Any discussion? No discussion, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of publishing the RFQ for the provision of city services, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, vote by saying no, nay. The ayes have it. This resolution passes 5-0. Number 6, agenda item number 6. Consideration of resolution to commence intergovernmental negotiations for services. The agenda item reads, Governor's Commission on the City of Stonecrest resolves to initiate communication with DeKalb County government, other governments, and government agencies for the purpose of negotiating intergovernmental agreements for the provision of municipal services that will not be directly provided by the City of Stonecrest. In other words, these are other services that were not stipulated that the city would provide directly when we presented when the campaign presented the Carl Vinson study in saying which services would be initially provided. Examples of those services would be sanitation, roads and drainage, and things of that sort. We would still have to negotiate an intergovernmental agreement so that the citizens of the city of Stonecrest would continue to receive those services from some other service provider other than the city. And so we would have to go into we'd have to negotiate intergovernmental agreements to continue to provide those services. Those services do include police protection and fire protection. And so we have to negotiate those with agencies that are capable of delivering those services to the city of Stonecrest. Is there any clarity that needs to be made?
Yes, sir. Mr. Thibodeau, just for clarity's sake, Parks and Recreation, which you mentioned previously.
Yes.
On the agenda item, I believe it was 5, that is not going to be included in services provided and enter a governmental agreement with the county?
Those are the services that the city, eventually, the city has 2 years to take on services and provide them directly, okay? So Parks and Recs will not be considered as a service that is not provided by the city. However, in the interim, we may need the DeKalb County to continue to provide that until such a time we take that over ourselves. However, what we're talking about here are those that were not in our overall plan to take over until a much later date that goes beyond the 2-year initiation period.
And sir, those things that you may not take on until a much later date would include sanitation?
Sanitation, police and fire services, roads and drainage, things of that sort.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed the first meeting, so I don't know what the protocol is. But you're putting out there a lot of requests for proposals, and I would imagine that you will have, or hopefully will have, a lot of proponents. So who's writing the proposal? Are there any minimum standards for the evaluation? Who gets to evaluate it? I'm not sure if that was already discussed.
The commission will be authoring the proposals with the help of our legal counsel. So those will be formulated in a legal format. They will be published publicly, particularly in the Champion newspaper, which is our public organ. And so just like any other government in the state of Georgia, we will go through a formal bidding process in order to obtain those services. Again, the commission can only negotiate and recommend to the city government, at which time the city government is elected and takes their seats. They can either accept our recommendations or they can start this process over again. Yes, sir.
I think it's just a clarification question. For sanitation, for example, is it going to be that the county is providing the service to us as county residents, or the county is providing the services to the city, which is providing it even, that just confuses me, why this negotiation needs to happen.
The negotiation needs to happen because the city is now a separate political entity from the county. So the city would then be the county's customer for the provision of service.
So when the garbage isn't picked up, do we call the city or do we call DeKalb County?
That will be taken care of in the contract that the city signs with the county. Any procedure set forth would be covered in that contract.
And does that contract stipulate when the elected commission agrees to it? Does it stipulate the amounts that the city pays to the county?
The contract will stipulate what the city pays to the county.
So then we're then paying a fee to Stonecrest instead of DeKalb.
Your property taxes and any and all fees will be collected by the city, except for those services that are provided directly by the county. However, and this also falls under the contract, what you are charged in your tax bill will be reflective of the contract between the city and the county.
So what services will be provided then directly by the county? It sounds like they're all going to the city, which I have no objection to.
No, as the Stonecrest City Alliance and the Stonecrest Yes and the Carl Vinson study stipulated, the initial services provided by the city will be code enforcement, planning and zoning, and parks and recreation. All other services will be negotiated and provided either through the county or another government agency that may be able to provide those services at a better service and a higher quality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry, what's your name? Is
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't at the first meeting. This is my first time meeting with you guys as a whole. But is it possible that you guys can put together a matrix of what services are going to be provided by City of Stonecrest, DeKalb County, and that way it could be something that would clarify everything?
What we can tell you now is that the city intends to provide code enforcement, parks and rec, planning and zoning, Any other services that are being provided will be negotiated through intergovernmental contract, either with DeKalb County or another government agency that can provide those services for the best quality to the city of Stonecrest.
But-
That is not in place right now,
I
so
know.
we can't tell you.
But just to play devil's advocate, someone might not necessarily know all the services. That when you say certain
Mhm.
other services, I don't necessarily know all the services. So that's why I wanted to be clear. If you could-
The services are laid out very clear in the city charter, which I do
Okay.
not have a copy of now, but is available online and publicly.
Online.
It's on, it's
You can-
www.stonecrestcity.com.
Okay.
It's been there for 2 years.
Okay.
It's also part of the charter. It's also part of the Carl Vinson Institute.
Yeah. In the city's charter, all powers that are conferred to the city by the state are listed in the charter.
Okay. Thank you.
One last question. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I also missed the first meeting, but is there a plan 10, 15, 20 years down the line to bring those services that are outside of the scope, I guess, of those three things you outlined under the Stonecrest City umbrella?
I'm sure that the city plans to be full service at some time, including police services and fire protection. However, those decisions will be made by the elected officials of the city at such a time when the city's budget can sustain those services.
But there aren't any hypothetical hallmarks, you know,
I've-
saying we wanna add X by X.
There's no hypothetical plan on, when these things are gonna take place. As we have been commissioned by the governor to set up the city based on what services were stipulated in the feasibility study, and then any decision to provide services beyond that point those decisions will be made by the elected city government based on city revenues as they grow. So it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 2 years. It all depends on whatever taxes and fees and other income are generated, the will of the citizens petitioning their government to provide services that aren't provided at that time, and the will and the intent of the elected city government. This commission is not empowered to map out a 10-year plan that the city government is then committed to follow.
Mr. Chair, just so we can make sure that we cover all the agenda items, perhaps we ought to spend some time on the back end of the agenda, just providing clarity on what the mission of this
Mhm.
particular commission is, for those folks who may not have been here on last.
Okay, all right. Do we have a motion from the commission to consider the resolution to commence intergovernmental negotiations for services?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Butts,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Burgess. All in favor of adopting resolution, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. This resolution has been passed unanimously by a vote of 5-1. Agenda item number 7. Consideration of resolution to formally address proposed DeKalb County zoning changes within Stonecrest city limits. The agenda item reads, the Governor's Commission on the City of Stonecrest resolves to monitor, review, analyze, and take public positions on all proposed zoning legislation and land use permits that affect parcels within the legal boundaries of the City of Stonecrest, adopting the general position that the DeKalb County Zoning Board of Appeals, DeKalb County Planning Commission, and the DeKalb Board of Commissioners adjudicate no changes to the DeKalb County zoning map as it currently exists within the legal boundaries of the City of Stonecrest before municipal elections are complete and the duly elected government of the City of Stonecrest is seated and active. This simply states is that our position would be that DeKalb County should not make any changes to the zoning map within the City of Stonecrest before elections are complete and the elected government of the City of Stonecrest takes its place. As zoning, planning and zoning is one of the initial services that is intended to be provided by the City of Stonecrest. We have here with us the chairman of the community, of the Stonecrest Community Committee, Committee on Planning and Zoning. Sir, do you have a brief statement?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Patrick Ajike.
Oh, thank you.
What's his name? What's his name again? please?
Patrick Ajike.
Patrick Ejike. I want us to look at zoning, planning and zoning as the blueprint to what we want our city to be like. If you go to other cities that look good, a few of them are around us, it starts from planning and zoning. That is the reason why what you just heard, to let the Cap County know they cannot make changes before we have duly elected officers in the city of Stonecrest. What does that mean? Planning and zoning. Planning, when you hear planning, is actually land use and zoning. Actually triggers what kind of economic development you will attract. If the land use is not adequate, you're not going to attract the right folks. So planning and land use becomes the blueprint of our vision for the next foreseeable future. It triggers building materials, building process, land development process, environmental regulations. So there's a bunch of things that's in it. One of the things I would suggest to the board to do is, in addition to what you just read, add the word that the county passed a moratorium that is legally binding, that the whole county, the whole state will know that there is a moratorium inside the boundaries of Stonecrest. That means the county will not even accept applications, because if they accept applications, there is a little bit of a thin line as to if you don't put in a moratorium and they accept an application, do they have a right to deny that process or not? So by putting a moratorium, and we want them to do it as a special item immediately the next time they see, the new presiding officer can actually effectuate this with the CEO, that the City of Stonecrest Commission wants the board of the Cap County Board of Commissioners to pass a moratorium that incorporates what you read. And that seals it for us and give us a chance to look at our land use. Land use allow us to account for our economic footprint. How do we expand it? How do we look at circulation in here, the roads and stuff? So there's a lot of stuff involved in it. And I will end up to say, Commissioner, you guys have your hands full. You guys have your hands full. But that's what I wanted to chime in to. There are discussions already. Mr. Thibodeau asked me to look into some things. There are discussions that have not been elevated to a process yet about changing some of the overlay district requirements in Stonecrest. We don't want that. Every land use changes. So there are things that are in the pipeline. So they're going to be an issue. The applications they accepted already, how do we handle it? What is the list of what they have right now? And usually, when you want the county to tell you the truth, you use open records request. I was intricately involved when we transferred all this to Dunwoody. I was in the middle of it. I was responsible for transferring the data. So I knew what we voluntarily transferred and what we reluctantly transferred. So you use open records request so that way, Mr. Boss is smiling. So we used open records request. They used open records request to do that, to force us to do the things we really didn't want to do. So those are the little tricks in governance to get the data we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ajike.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna, because I'm a sitting member of the planning commission representing this area right now, I'm gonna recuse myself from the discussion and the action on this particular item.
Duly noted. Thank you, Mr. Butts. Please make sure that that's entered to the minutes, please.
what he was talking about, would that include things like special land use permits? And that's
Yes.
the question to him.
Yes.
I mean, that might be in the pipeline right now.
I didn't hear what you
that
said.
Would that include things like special land use permits that might be in the pipeline right now?
Yes, all planning and zoning and all related items.
Okay.
So the first thing we want to do is take an inventory of what they have in their books already. They do have a zoning calendar on the website, so we know when the next zoning intake gonna be. So it's everything, even variances. If it's not in the pipeline, let it start for right now until they finish their work, we elect the officers, and they have time to read and understand what my subcommittee gonna be doing a whole lot of work to make sure that they have all the codes and ordinances and everything that they need, and kind of what they need to do their work.
But if it is in the pipeline, then, if it is in the pipeline right now, then what?
The attorney that the commission referenced to get, you see why it's important that you have an attorney in front of it to negotiate what is going on. Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Based on what, the gentleman was just sharing, it's obvious that history has been that if you don't put certain measures in place, if I'm hearing correctly, then there's the potential that the county could shut down progress for Stonecrest. Is that what is being said in a general sense?
Yep.
That if you don't put this in place, so that means some history is back there where they have done that for other cities, perhaps Dunwoody. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to be sure I understood. The other thing is, to put a moratorium on it, would that not require a legal decision, legal, counsel?
Yes,
For
that would
that
require
kind of
legal
decision.
counsel, and that would be a separate decision of this body if we were to execute or requested our attorneys to execute a legal moratorium.
Okay.
This is just the adoption of a position that we are opposed to any changes to the zoning map or land use map within the city of Stonecrest.
Thank you.
Mr. Joyner?
Pleasure, Joyner. My question is, how would this moratorium be enforced since the commission is just supplying us with recommendations? You know, how would that be affected? Or are you just making a recommendation to the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners? Or is there some type of negative action that can be taken?
For there to be a moratorium at this time, that would be something that would have to be approached to the Board of Commissioners. And if they were so inclined to do so, it would only apply everything prospectively. So any applications that are there today still have the rights to be heard. So, you would want to have the commissioners come to a resolution that they will not act on any future applications that are there and asking to do a moratorium. From this discussion here tonight, I'll talk with the county attorney. Usually with agenda items that take place like this, I'll make the call and say, we want this. Which I would think that if they didn't agree to it, then it just certainly wouldn't look right. And certainly as far as your own delegation within the commission that represents you, I would go ahead and start contacting them.
How long would, if you start a moratorium, will it last up to the time the city is imposed?
It would last at that point in time, and then the decision, the current council, when they're sworn in, is whether or not they continue a moratorium until they get their ordinances in place. Ordinarily, what happens is, in order that you can, because what you want to do is have your planning staff, you want to have them in place. And more likely than not, in order to start business, you would adopt those ordinances that are already in the DeKalb County zoning code for purposes of what you're doing. You would adopt a city map, zoning map, which is work that has to be done between now and the time that the commission, the council comes around and doing that. So you want to be very careful about this, because you don't want to be in a position where you can't process these applications without having the adequate personnel and without having the appropriate ordinances in place for you. So when this city's organized, there will be a great flurry of ordinances being adopted in order that the council and the council can manage the city.
I hope it doesn't take very long. This area is already stagnated, and if we're gonna stop business,
Well, that's the point. If you don't want to stop business, but you also don't want somebody coming in and popping you right at the beginning, it can happen.
Could you clarify what you said, existing applications have the right to be heard if something's currently on the zoning calendar?
That's right. In other words, if you do a moratorium, then everything that's behind the moratorium date is grandfathered in, they have to be processed. You can't stop something once it's been started and been accepted to do that. People have paid the fees in order for that to be done.
One last question.
So if, for instance, Trader Joe's decided they wanted to come into the Target that's empty on Lowell Parkway, and they needed some little variance to be able to do that, they would have to wait several months before applying. And they would have to wait then several months until the city has its staff and procedures in place before receiving a variance.
No, that's not, you don't want to do that, because the one thing you do want to do is encourage business. I mean, that's why you formed your city, to make that economic development encouragement. What I'm saying is that that standstill period of time would be very short.
It's about 3 months if I'm recalling until the elections, 3 months. And then it'll certainly be a couple of months before they're ready to intelligently hear and evaluate requests. I think you could be looking up to a 6-month delay on any economic progress that involves variance or zoning. Or somebody wanting to build a shed in their backyard too close to the property line.
Or if you see something come through and there is no moratorium, then you all need to attend these meetings. And if it's something you don't want, make sure that you're there and your voice is heard. I mean, that's the biggest thing, that when you're in that room and they see all these citizens and they all stand up and say, don't do this to us, I can assure you, those that are making that decision, you elect. And they see that.
I would much rather see a resolution that asks the county to consult with Mr. Ajikis, if I pronounce that correctly.
Yes.
His committee before considering something. So we get input, but we don't slow down things unnecessarily.
I think talk of a moratorium is premature. The subject of a moratorium came up, to request a moratorium to be filed or be requested from the Board of Commissioners. What require us to pass another agenda item to enact our attorney to request that moratorium? A moratorium came up and was suggested by Mr. Ajike. This agenda item is simply to adopt a position that we would prefer that the county does not change the zoning map. It could include, in practice, that they confer with our community commission before they take action. I believe the assumption that a moratorium is exactly how we're gonna move forward is premature.
And more likely than not, they wouldn't even consider this for the reasons that we're discussing here. But I think it's a matter of being cooperative. The suggestion that you made regarding asking that when these applications come in that involve Stonecrest, please give us notice of the application so we can come down and copy it, and then deal with it as we would as any other citizen would deal with it. That would be, I think, would be an approach that could be done.
Mr. Curry, I believe you have a question from a member of the commission?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happens if there are businesses that are not conducive, or what we consider conducive to the growth of our community? If it's something, whether it's hazardous to the air quality, or, you know, more certain types of businesses, of which there are 28 in South DeKalb already. How do we prevent that from, you know, being part of what we're looking at, our vision for our city?
Those types of businesses will have to be dealt with very quickly within the first 1 or 2 weeks after everything is done. I said that would have to be those types of businesses that would be either nuisances or aren't the type of business that you want in your community, would have to be dealt with very quickly, and that's what's done. I mean, we can talk, you know, strip clubs, the alcohol ordinances, as far as any sort of noxious type of activities that may take on an industrial basis. Clearly, you know, that would require a much heavier zoning, M2 zoning, in order to do that. I mean, all of these things will have to be taken into account, but you also have to understand that people have rights associated with their ability to use their land for certain purposes. But that will have to be taken up very, very soon. That'll be one of the most important things that the council will do.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to consider the resolution?
One question, the council will do that, or once we vote on the mayor and the council, this council will do that?
No. When I say council, I'm saying those are your elected representatives. Okay. This is the commission that the governor appointed.
They won't do this.
They won't do this. They're not empowered to do anything. What they're doing is assisting in the transition to a city government in order that, well, it won't, you know, you won't turn on the water right away and everything be perfectly done, but they're gonna pave the way so this can be done. And the council that comes in that you elect may just look at it and say, we're not taking any of your recommendations. We're gonna do what we wanna do. I doubt that will happen, but that's just to tell you that they don't have that authority.
Okay. Do we hear a motion to consider the resolution to address proposed DeKalb County changes within the Stonecrest city limits from the commission? We have a motion?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Burgess, seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion has been approved by a 4-member vote, with Mr. Butts recusing himself from the vote. Agenda item number 8, the Stonecrest Community Committee statements and updates. I believe that Mr. Jones has some statements to make.
So, this is very small, minor news, but it is significant. So the city needed a domain name, stonecrestga.com. That's a 2-week process. We truncated that process to 8 hours, and here's why we need to do that, because normally these domain names cost $125, which is not a big deal, but the GSA planned on raising the price to $400. Yeah, so it's a big price hike. So just a small thing, I scrambled and spoke to .com folks, which is a government agency, as well as the General Services Agency, which is another government agency, to see if we can save the city some money. Suffice it to say that it is the city's technically its first bill. Just wanted to put that out there. Like I said, it's a small thing, which is why I postponed it. But I mean, I think it is a testament to the commitment of myself and the individuals as part of this commission to make sure that the city and the citizens are in good hands, even if we just save you a little bit of money. That's it. Thank you.
That's a correction, that's the .gov site. That's the
Okay.
.gov, not the .com.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's stonecrestga.gov.
That would be the city's domain name once the city government takes place, stonecrestga.gov.
Thank you.
Any other members or chairs of the community commission, the community committees, have any statements of position or anything else to add at this time?
I have a question. How do we engage the county? It's not clear as to, in the planning and zoning part, there are things we need to do that requires us to talk to the county.
Yes.
Does the county know of us? Because I don't want to walk in there and start talking without anything saying, okay, I have the right to speak on behalf of you guys. So, so is there anything that informs the county that we will be collecting this data? For example, we need to collect the digital footprint and the parcels for Stonecrest. We need to do certain things to make sure we understand what those things are. We need the current land use. We need to isolate whatever ordinances that make a list of ordinances. Kind of start preparing what we're going to report to you as. So in saying that, there's a lot of stuff to look at. Is there any official communicate between this board and the county, so that when I show up, I'm not showing up as who they used to know.
Yeah.
I'm showing up in a new capacity.
The county does know about the commission.
Yes.
And I will say, before I let Mr. Irons take over, each member of the commission is an ex officio member of each community committee.
Okay.
So that every community committee has as an ex officio member, a member of the governor's commission. And as far as how that goes about and how we organize to get that done, I'll allow Mr. Irons to explain that.
So whenever you're finished with the agenda, many of you came tonight because you got notification that you were appointed to a committee subcommittee. We will have an orientation to go over some of those details as soon as they conclude their agenda.
Okay.
And when you let me know, then that's that question will be covered in the item we'll talk about.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I don't think it requires any action from this commission to empower a committee to speak on our behalf. Does it not? I mean, because if so, I'd like to take it up before we adjourn. I know we've been covered in training, but we don't need to empower them in any way.
No, we remember last week, we passed a resolution saying that we would partner with these committees. And so these committees are now duly empowered to work with us on our behalf. My point is that the committees will do no work without the oversight of the commission.
All right. I was just wondering, I mean,
Yeah.
Patrick doesn't need our help to go.
No, excuse me. It was mainly to put forth that these committees do no work without our oversight. Any further comments from the commission, the governor's commission? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion that this public meeting?
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I want to give just a 2 minute, just to be clear on what our next steps and marching orders are for folks who missed it and are not real clear on just what our role is.
Okay.
I know we talked a little bit in between, I think, one of the agenda items, and it might be good to give 2 or 3 minutes on just what our task.
Okay, I'll accept that suggestion.
And also, what's their background? They were appointed by the governor. I don't know how many people in here know it. It would be helpful from just a PR standpoint. Let us know who they are and why they're there.
Okay, all right, we will reintroduce ourselves. Okay. Y'all ready? Okay.
Oh, that was done earlier before?
That was done at a previous meeting, yes, but the five of us up here
All right.
were appointed by Governor Deal to the Governor's Commission on the City of Stonecrest.
Okay.
I was appointed chair. Yes, sir.
Now, the Dunwoody effort, were any of y'all involved with that besides Mr.?
Mr. Ajike was, at the time, Mr. Ajike was the head of planning and development
Yes.
Okay. All
for DeKalb County. So that was his job.
right. Okay.
at
I was
the
just
time.
wondering if anybody had experience with this kind of movement before, to go from a.
Yes, yes. A
Okay.
number of us,
All right.
the governor made it clear, what the governor did was that he appointed a cross-section. He appointed 3 residents of the city of Stonecrest, so that the citizenry would be,
Future residents.
no, residents.
They are residents?
We are
Oh,
residents.
it's a-
There's-
okay, all
there's-
right.
Yes.
So this is after the New Year's established.
Right. The governor did not appoint this commission until after the referendum was won.
Okay.
So residents of the city of Stonecrest.
All right.
Okay, so he appointed me. My name is Joel Thibodeau. I currently serve as the Director of Internal Audits and Compliance with the DeKalb County School District. Prior to that time, I served on the State Senate Budget and Evaluation staff, basically writing the state budget in order for the legislators to pass it, okay? And prior to that, I spent 13 years in corporate budgeting, finance, and forecasting. Okay, so those are my areas of expertise. I hold a bachelor's degree in accounting. I hold a master's degree in public policy, concentrating on public finance policy, and I was the legislative budget fellow at Georgia State University. I'll allow this lady and these gentlemen to introduce themselves.
I don't know if everybody's already heard that. I was just.
We have no
In
problem
the
clarifying.
history of how we got here. And
I think we
what to
all
look
like
out
talking
for.
about ourselves enough that we don't mind sharing that again.
All right.
Miss Emmanuel?
My name is Michelle Emmanuel. I am an account executive for Oracle Corporation. I sell software. I've been an IT software person for 20 years. I live in the Stonecrest community and have for 14 years. And I was very excited that the governor chose me, as I'm the only woman, and I think I give a different perspective. And I'm happy to be able to help my community to go where I know it can.
My name is Sean Jones. I have a background in IT for the past 20 years as well. I also lived in the Lithonia, now Stonecrest area for the past, I would say, 22 years. As I said, my background is in IT. I also work for Northrop Grumman as a government contractor for the CDC. My title is programmer there. I also run my own business as well, doing subcontracting. I'm also part of I was part of the Stonecrest City Alliance. In this capacity, I serve on the board as commission and have detached from candidacy and things of that sort. But like I said, I'm also a part of the community in terms of activism. There's a lot of folks here, some folks here actually that I've worked with. George Turner, for instance, and I've also worked with Joel Terrell on some things as well, and a couple other folks. That's about it, really. Thank you.
Mr. Butts?
So my name is Marcus Butts, 45-year resident of DeKalb County. I do not live in the Stonecrest city limits. Moved away about 5 years ago. I live in Stone Mountain. I am a municipal real estate agent. What that means essentially, I am a municipal real estate dude. I work for the city of Atlanta. A lot of the land acquisition and real estate matters that people are angry with the mayor or other folks about is usually me. Wife and 3 kids. I participate in the community in a number of different ways. If you live in the Stonecrest city limits, I've been your planning commissioner since 2005. And if you don't know my name, that's probably a good thing. That means I haven't made you too mad. So that's my background in short.
And last but definitely and certainly not least, Mr. Burgess.
My name is Jim Burgess. Have been working in local government for about 50 years. I'm an attorney. I retired as the director of the Georgia Municipal Association, representing all the cities throughout the state. After retirement, I was elected mayor of Social Circle, Georgia. I was mayor there 14 years. I am still working part-time. I'm currently a legislative liaison to the state legislature for the city of Savannah.
Would you mind if I also mentioned that you served on the Governor's Commission for the city of Sandy Springs?
I did serve on the commission for Sandy Springs.
So, those are our qualifications. Are there any questions, as Mr. Butts mentioned, regarding getting any clarity on the purpose of this commission, what our charge is from the governor, and how we plan to move forward?
So one question. Do you guys plan on inviting, I guess he's just as new as you guys are. Do you guys plan on inviting Mr. Thurman to any of these meetings at all? Just to see how he's the new CEO of the Cal, I figured. Yeah.
I don't know how much value that would add. I love Mr. But the fact of the matter is we have such a short time frame. I mean, education is not one of those things that you'll immediately be able to embrace, but we do have a dynamite committee that's going to be researching some matters. So if they decide, based on that recommendation, that we need to probably get Mr. Thurman over here, I'm sure we can probably accommodate him in some way. But, again, with such a short time frame, we need to keep the main thing the main thing.
I mean, I'm assuming since we're talking about making sure that what you said with them not trying to hide anything with the zoning when we're doing that, just to get it on record that, Mr. Thurman, this is what we plan on doing, and having him say, hey, yeah, we're gonna give it up. And that would just be rather than,
It's formal or informal.
a formal way of saying, all you have to do is invite them down.
Yes, I mean, we wouldn't be opposed to sending a formal invitation to Mr. Thurman.
He's saying the Cal.
Yeah, I mean, the facts of the matter is that these are public meetings. They're published. The fact that these meetings are being held at this place every Thursday, and that's been communicated to. I send out the communications to every news organization in the city, including the legal organ, the Champion newspaper. I'm surprised not to see as many elected officials as I would expect to see at a meeting like this. But if Mr. Thurman's attendance is important to the citizens of Stonecrest, we do not have a problem issuing a formal invitation. Mr. Larry.
Thank you, Coach Chair. I'm Jason Larry. For those of you that may have a little bit of time after the meeting, there's a couple of things that you can ask that are members of the Stonecrest Yes Committee that's actually here in the room. I'll give you a quick example. Mr. GK added that what are some of the things that we could do with regards to communicating with the county, or there's some other things that are happening that are already in place that will save us some money as a city. I'll give you a very specific example. Mr. Pledge Joyner here, candidate for District 2, has already completed the very arduous work of being able to get the Georgia Power revenue in for us as soon as possible with regards to when the city starts up. So that started 6 months ago. There's some other things that are very specific with regards to saving us money when the city starts and bringing in that franchise revenue. So if you want to know more about that, we'll wait in the hall at your leisure, or at the citizen leisure, and we'll answer any questions that you all have.
Okay. We will be undertaking, is there any questions regarding the Governor's Commission? Okay. There will be an orientation session for members of the.
One more question. So is that on record? You guys are going to send are you guys going to send the invitation? Nobody said that.
So I don't know who responded. Actually, we need to send an invitation to the CEO as well as the city commissioner. I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
We do a yes vote, right? No.
We don't have to take that. Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the public meeting of the Governor's Commission on Stonecrest?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay, the business meeting of the Governor's Commission on the City of Stonecrest is hereby adjourned. Mr. Irons, you can please take over for the Stonecrest Community, Stonecrest Community Committee. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you. You're speaking. All right, so a lot of the questions that you all had are really related to how you can actively be involved in shaping what will happen in the future, and we're going to cover a fair amount of that. How many of you are in the room today because you were notified that you've been appointed to the Community Advisory Committee? Great. Can you raise your hand? Okay, great. That's exactly what we were looking to hear. The first thing I'm going to do is just highlight for you the folks in the room that happen to chair different committees, and if any of them would like to come to the front, there'll be seats here for you. I'll stand the entire time so that as we get into some specific details. But of course, the Code Enforcement and Beautification Committee is chaired by Ms. Michelle Emanuel. The City Operations Committee is chaired by Mr. Sean Jones. The Planning and Zoning Committee, as you've heard through several questions, is chaired by Mr. Patrick Ajike. You also have the Community Affairs Committee is co-chaired by Dr. Barbara Lee and Mr. Michael Williams. I know I saw Dr. Lee and Mr. Williams here. And then, of course, I chair Economic Development, and the Parks and Recreation Committee is chaired by Ms. Mira Cardenas, who's there in the rear, who heads up our Arabian Mountain Alliance. So there's a couple of things I wanted to cover. We're going to have them broadcast on the screen, but I guess it's a Bluetooth connection that wasn't working tonight. But we'll make sure that gets in place. There's some confusion by some of you. What's the difference between the governor's appointed commission and the Stonecrest Community Committee? The governor certainly, and I think that's been clarified over the last couple of meetings, that the governor appointed a 5-person commission in order to oversee the transition and make it easier for your elected officials to take office by providing them with some recommendations. The purpose of the Stonecrest Community Advisory Committee is to ensure that the citizens are actively involved in shaping the things that we talk about, shaping these services, getting down into the details. But also, we designed it that way. Those of us who served on the Stonecrest Yes Alliance and the Stonecrest Cityhood movement, we wanted to make sure that we started out with a government where the citizens were actively involved. We ended up in this particular place because many of us were not tied in with all the decisions and actions that were happening in Decatur that were affecting us on a daily basis. We want to make sure that Stonecrest launches in a way that each and every one of you who wants to be involved feels that there's a place for you in this organization and the government. So there were 6 committees identified. I just told you what those 6 committees were. The rationale on those committees, certainly the first 3 services of the city, right? That makes sense to have subcommittees that focus on how we get those services off the ground. And then the other committees, economic development was selected because we all know that we need more investment, more development oversight, more job creation in this community. And that was certainly one of the platforms that, as Mr. Larry and others came into communities and talked about this movement, most people responded to and agreed with the need for more economic development. Parks and Recreation is one of those subcommittees. We also added community affairs because although the city won't be implementing its own education department, we already have a school district. We need to have an effective tie-in with that organization, so a committee should be set up in order to talk about how we can improve education in this community, which is a direct tie to economic development. Many of you stated when we polled the citizens about creating a city that the #1 concern you had was public safety. And so I think we wanted to make sure we were responding to your concerns by having a committee that talked about how we make Stonecrest safer. We have 3 keys when you're creating a city. You have to create a unique place that people want to come to.
that's welcome to everyone. That's the second thing. Everybody has to be welcome in Stonecrest. Stonecrest isn't a city just for one type of person or another type of person. And when people come here, we have to keep them safe, whether they live here or whether they're visiting. That's our job. And so those committees are lined up in that particular way. Right now, I'm going to share the names, and we'll email this presentation to all of you who received emails this weekend that list that out. Mr. Jones and I worked on putting it together. So sorry you can't see how beautiful it is, but I wanted to make sure that those of you who are in committees, and some of you are friends and neighbors who certainly know each other. So I'm the Code Enforcement and Beautification Committee working under Ms. Emanuel. Doretha Hallman, let's see, Sabrina Carter, Daryl Taylor, J.W. Eady, Jeremy Scott, and Tiara Moore, all appointees to the Code Enforcement and Beautification Committee. So if you're concerned with the way the community looks, if you feel like the grass is too high in certain parts of the community, that we can do more about paving, and and as a matter of fact, Turner Hill Road is just too dark. When we need more lights. Those type of things will come up in Code Enforcement and Beautification. On the Economic Development Committee, Miss Elisa Clark, I saw you talked a little earlier. Althea Wembley, I think I saw you sitting over here. Colby Gray, Latasha Askew.
Can we stand so we can see what they look like?
If people can stand if they would like to stand. Would you like me to start over so you can?
Well, I want to know who I'm gonna have to communicate with on the different ones, and so I don't know a lot of people that you're mentioning. So
Right.
I'd like to put a visual with.
So I think the key to it is one, you should know who the chairs are, right? I think that's very clear. We identified who all the chairs were, and if you all would like the chairs to talk about their credentials, we could do that toward the end. You've heard half of those. Two, the meetings are going to be public meetings. So when people meet, if you care about Parks and Recreation, go to the scheduled Parks and Recreation Committee, and you'll be able to see and get to know the folks. But as I call the names, most of you who are in the room overheard that your neighbors would like to see who you are. If you don't mind either waving your hand or standing, don't be shy. This is your new city too. So Ms. Clark is in the rear there. Ms. Wimberly is here. Colby Gray, is Colby Gray here tonight? No? Latasha Askew. Reginald Green. Rico Brown.
It's right there.
Oh, Rayco, okay. All right, I was thinking my committee was getting kind of small all of a sudden. Essence Chenault. Essence is right there. John Paulus, Mr. Paulus. Jerry Myers. Robin Amos. Anthony Pearson. Mr. Pearson. Jeffa Wagner. And Ashley Saylor. Oh, hi, there you go. All right, so very good. That's your Economic Development Committee. All of the people there submitted their credentials, and we'll talk about the process for how people got appointed in a second. Your Community Affairs Group. Who you have on Community Affairs? Ms. Nicole Prater. Hi, how are you? Welcome. Pamela Childs. Pierre Paul, or Paul Pierre. Kinja Dennis. Johnny Waits. Dr. Lisa Bratton. Of course, Dr. Barbara Lee. Andrew Wells.
Here.
Welcome. Kyle Jones. Ted Golden. Roberta Prosser. Jason Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong, welcome. And S. Harris. Is Sandra? Okay, got it. I'll make that correction. Thank you. Welcome to all of the folks on the Community Affairs Committee. Now that committee will be taking the initiative to talk about education and public safety, as well as connectivity to other local governments. I was actually just briefly told, you heard earlier, before I go on to the next committees, that we were surprised that a lot of the other elected officials had not come, and I was just informed that our state legislator, Mr. Vernon Jones, is in the room. Mr. Jones, would you like to say anything?
Thanks. How's everybody doing? Thank you, Father. As Elizabeth Taylor said to her ex-husband, I promise you I won't keep you long. Some of y'all will get that tomorrow. It's okay. I'm honored to be here. I have been trying to wait until I was officially sworn in before I actually start to get involved. As you know, I served in the State House in this area. I was elected back in '92. Miss Lee, I see Barbara Lee is here, who was helpful. From '92 to 2000, I served, and then I was elected chief executive from 2000 to 2008. And I've been out 8 years. Seems like every 8 years something happens, but now I'm back in the legislature. We were sworn in on Monday, and actually this whole city was created through using the state legislature and our delegation. Let me say the majority of the district happens to be in the district that I represent. I will be working with a number of other legislators, both House and the Senate. But more importantly, I want to work with this distinguished body. Joe, you know, I know, Joe, I understand you're under the weather. I hope I'm not sick tomorrow. But, and Vaughn, thank all of you guys for your leadership, but more important, thank the people who actually voted in support of Stonecrest. It is a city, and there's a matter of the process going through. I do want to work and be involved and be engaged with each and every one of you as well. Having run a government, having been responsible for this area, for roads and drainage and code enforcement and zoning and planning, those things are very important. I see Patrick Jeeke here, who is my director of planning and commission. That's a very important role. So there are a lot of resources here to support and augment what you're doing, Vaughn, what this group is doing. So I want to play that role as your legislator, but also having the experience of running an actual government. So I'm here to support you. I do want to give you all a very easy way to contact me. And I really want you to contact, because it's simple, so I can get you on my mailing list so you can hear, because I'll be holding community meetings, not to take away from the city, but to represent and let you know what's going on in the state and how we're still working with the city. Because there are going to be times when the city charter may need to be tweaked here, because these gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen will be looking at that charter as they go through the process to try to get things where it can be successful and be effective, and that's what you all want. And I was appointed this week to the Transportation Committee. That's important. I think I'm the only one in this area. That Transportation Committee, that's about roads, and that is a huge deal. The state passed $1 billion annual budget now, the new transportation plan. How much of that money will be coming here? Also, I talked to Congressman Hank Johnson today. I think Eric Hubbard is here. If Eric hasn't already made the announcement, Hank Johnson was also put on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. So we look to work closely together with the city of Stonecrest to help them identify state and federal matching dollars to give you the best infrastructure that's possible. Now, I live here, I live off the Mill Road, so I see a lot of the potholes now, and I see some of the servicing that needs to be resurfaced, but that costs money. And when you're starting out as a city, you don't have a whole lot of money, but those matching dollars, being able to leverage what you have with the state and federal dollars, that can make a big difference overnight. And so my email, again, is very simple. It's Friends of Vernon Jones. Can't get any simpler than that. Friends with an S, Friends of Vernon Jones @gmail.com. That's Friends of Vernon Jones. So if you can just drop me a note tonight and just say, or when you get home or tomorrow, because we will be holding subsequent meetings now that I'm your new state legislator. So Vaughn, thank you so much for letting me say a few words. Thank y'all too, it's important. And I'm here to continue to serve, and I'm humbled that I get another opportunity to make a difference. And we have made a difference. And Stonecrest is going to be an amazing city. If we all, Jimmy, if we all roll our sleeves up, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about us. And we can make it safe, we can make it clean. I see the chief from Lithonia here, Chief Smith, you know how important it is to have a safe neighborhood and the resources that this city is going to need, obviously, with the DeKalb County still primarily the law enforcement agency, but maybe later on that may change, but to have that infrastructure. So that's important. So again, thank y'all so much. Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Okay, so I just went over the Community Affairs Committee. Names who are on the City Operations Committee, which is chaired by Mr. Jones. Nadia Farnham. And excuse me if I'm, how do you pronounce it?
Lydia Farnham.
Lydia Farnham. Vanita Simpson. Ms. Simpson, welcome. Princess Major. Let's see. Paxton Beatty. Beatty. All right. Darnell Crawford.
Yep.
Mr. Crawford, welcome. Robert Watts. Welcome, Mr. Watts. Cedric Beasley.
Yeah, man.
All right. See, Sean, you got a committee. Everybody on your committee showed up today.
You gave us food.
Martinez Figures. Okay, just like the sports commentator, as soon as I mentioned it, I messed up your average. Robert Forrest. Mr. Forrest, welcome. And LaShonda Walker. Ms. Walker is in the rear. So that's the City Operations Committee. Parks and Recreation, Lori Brown. Latasha Lewis. Dr. Nancy Williams. O'Harriman, okay. Yeah, I needed that phonetically, it's not out here that way, but I will learn it. Montrese Walter. Gloria Leslie. Welcome, Ms. Leslie. Lenice Bostick.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Olivia McDonald McKenzie. Welcome. Reginald Dill. Jacqueline Swain. And Carol Plate. Welcome. Planning and Zoning Committee. Nashika Hancock. All right, welcome. Edwina Clanton. Oh. Jarrett Murphy. Carrie Williams. All right. Sierra Frazier. Elliot Tribes. Jason Daniels. And Mr. Jim Kelly. Welcome. And so those are your 6 committees and the people on the committees. Now, I just really briefly want to go over some quick details with you. So the Community Advisory Committee, we've got 5 major goals for this committee. Again, it's so that you can be actively involved in shaping these activities so your voice is heard, so that your neighbors feel that there's somebody that they know that they can immediately contact and connect with. So the first thing we're looking to do as a major goal is provide information to update, modify, expand, and improve the quality of government and the technical aspects of policies and programs. Again, the Governor's Commission can only recommend. Our job is to aggregate information, perspectives, so that there's material for us to review so that we can come up with these recommendations. Those 5 individuals can't do all of this alone. This is our city, and we can't advocate that responsibility to other people. The second thing, we're looking to support and strengthen relationships between business, industry, the community, government, visitors, and education. Basically, all the pillars that make a city great, we're trying to make sure that there's connectivity. It's amazing when you hear people that come in here that say, well, I've lived in Stonecrest for 14 years. I've lived in Stonecrest for 10 years. And we're in this room and literally we're all strangers. Most of us don't know each other. As we go through this process, that must change. And being on this commission gives us a forum in order to make sure that happens the way that it should. Our third major goal is to make recommendations to strengthen and expand public policy and provide assistance in implementing these recommendations. So when we come together and we start talking about parks and recreation and planning and zoning issues, don't expect that your job is done when we pass the recommendations on. Whoever is elected is going to need you to step up to the scratch line and continue to support your city. And who better in a position to do that than the people who work to put those recommendations on the table to make sure that vision is implemented. So we don't just need you for 60 days or 90 days. We really are asking you to step up in order to make sure the city becomes what we all know it can be. Number 4, assist in identifying the needs, determining priorities, and reviewing and evaluating recommendations. It is very possible that the Governor's Commission may have items in front of it, and they may send it down to a subcommittee and ask, could you all review this and give us your thoughts on which way we should go? There may be other elected officials, county and state legislators who have issues and items that relate to the city of Stonecrest that they ask the subcommittees to chew on and give them recommendations. So if anyone suggests to you that your role is somewhat perfunctory, they're just not in touch. This is a very important role and an important contribution to your community. And years down the road, a decade down the road, you'll be able to look back and say, I helped contribute to that. And how many times in your lifetime will any of you be involved in creating a new city? Right? It's a special moment, and you have to recognize that it is. And then the 5th thing is you have an opportunity to articulate long-term goals and objectives of the city of Stonecrest to your neighbors, to businesses, to your friends, regional influentials, and people throughout Metro Atlanta. The one thing that I know as I move throughout the country, because I write redevelopment plans and strategies for other communities, is even communities that have big challenges, they have citizens that stand up and fight for those communities. I grew up in New York, and I love Georgia, but you can't say anything bad about New York. I know New York has problems, but you can't say anything bad about it. People in Chicago, Chicago is the murder capital of the world. But if you ask someone from Chicago, it's the best place on the planet, and all they want to do is tell you about popcorn. We have to embrace that and understand that although we have challenges here in Stonecrest, our biggest cheerleaders are the people in this room and the people that live in your community, and we have to activate those cheerleaders to promote this community on our behalf. Qualifications of the members. Some of you may say, well, how did this person get on that committee, or how did this person get in the room? I think it's very important that you understand there was a multi-step process. We allow people to self-select and volunteer. We had it open on the website for about 6 weeks, from the middle of November till December 31st. And then last week, based on popular demand, we reopened the portal. So we had 60 people apply to be on these different committees. Folks were asked to fill out a survey and submit their resume and their background. And in that survey, some of you may recall the questions: do you live in the city of Stonecrest? Do you have a business in the city of Stonecrest? Or do you own property in the city of Stonecrest? In order to be appointed to a committee, you had to be able to answer yes to one of those questions. It's very important that you also understand that businesses are our stakeholders in this community. So many of the things that we want to see different and change in this community are at the decisions of the businesses who come here. We have a very strong industrial corridor. We've heard about that. But most of those business owners don't live in Stonecrest. We had to create a mechanism that allowed the voice of business who's impacting our community to sit at the table with you, hear from you, but also provide input, because it's their new city too. They've invested in this community as well. And so it has to be a place that is enfranchised for everyone. So the qualifications, what we're looking for people who are certainly intelligent, who have social vision, and leadership experience or leadership potential. We have one of our bright young stars right here, who's a student at Georgia State, who all she wants to do is grow up and do what we're doing right now. So she went to high school here, her parents are here, she grew up in this community. Why shouldn't we allow her leadership potential to be rooted in the city of Stonecrest? Why shouldn't we embrace her? That's what this process is able to do. We're looking for people who have the interest in the city services programs and opportunities. What we're not looking for is people who don't believe the city can happen to sit in a committee and pull the committee down. We're looking for people who have the vision, who understand what this potential really is and can help us contribute to make it occur. We're looking for people who desire to improve the quality of life and improve the business environment in this community. At the conclusion of last week's meeting, someone stopped me and said, we have to do something about customer service here in Stonecrest. We need to be known as the community that has the best customer service in Metro Atlanta. So he didn't say garbage pickup. He didn't say public safety. His number one concern was, as a resident, creating a good environment for business as well as quality of life for everyone. Those are the types of people that we want. We want people who have a willingness to promote the city of Stonecrest. So if you're gonna leave this meeting and tell other people they don't know what they're doing, they can't do it, I'm gonna move, then you don't need to be on a committee. This committee is for people who believe in this community and are gonna work hard in order to make this community great. People who have the ability to express their ideas, defend their conviction, and listen to others. Those are the types of people that we want. We want folks with experience in or knowledge of the areas of focus of your committees. We want people who can make the time. So don't just get on a committee so you can hear your name called in the room or you'll see it on a list in the newspaper. We need people who can serve and can make the time to contribute. And we want folks that are highly motivated and have an ability to work well with others. The advisory committee expectations, we want you to provide timely feedback and input. We don't have 5 years to make this happen. We only have a few weeks when you really think about it. If it's gonna take you 2 weeks to turn something around, it's already late. So we need you to be able to provide timely input and feedback. Pick up the phone, send an email, drop by and see somebody. I mean, heaven forbid you call somebody and say, I'm gonna stop by your house to talk about the city of Stonecrest. You have to get to know your neighbors in this process so that we can build community together. We need you to provide input in the areas of policy that the Governor's Commission or future city officials want to address or ask us to address. We need to put together proposed policy statements related to those things. So what may happen is you may start working on something for the Governor's Commission, and the future mayor or the future city council people are in the room and they see your passion. And they may ask you to continue to deliver that passion in order to help the city go forward. We need you to be actively engaged with your neighbors. We want you to share your perspective on local trends and issues and to identify any gaps that aren't covered. We need you to bring things to the table that you think we haven't thought about yet. There's a lot of moving parts, and you are the X factor. The people in this room and the people that you know and connect with are the secret sauce that's gonna help us be international. And so if we've missed something, you gotta tell us. Don't walk away and say, well, you know, they should have figured that out on their own. Maybe we just didn't notice, and we need you to help us. If you're a committee chair, the committee chairs have a couple of things that they need to do. We're asking them to collaborate with the overall chair. So Mr. Thibodeau is the chair of the Governor's Commission, and he serves as chair of the Community Council. I serve as co-chair. So let's say he's the CEO of the commission and I'm the COO of the commission, right? So collaborate with us so that we can make sure that each of the committees are connecting on issues of overlap, that meetings aren't happening at the same time. Sometimes because people may want to be able to go to more than one committee meeting and see what's happening and talk and connect. We want you to effectively facilitate conference calls and face-to-face meetings with your committees and groups. If Joel hears from some committee members, it's been 2 weeks and we haven't been able to meet, that means that that committee chair isn't moving the agenda along. We don't need you to schedule meetings 2 weeks from now. We need you to figure out how to get people together immediately right away. The Governor's Commission is meeting every Thursday until there's a mayor in this room. So it makes it easy for people to figure it out. So for folks who said they didn't know, they'll be able to come back. We'd like committee chairs to be able to figure out how to bring people together around their subjects on a regular, ease of access basis as well. We want you to help make recommendations, and the committee chairs will be asked to meet in order to collaborate to make sure that we're connecting and overlap. And finally, once a month, Mr. Thibodeau is asking each committee chair to provide a update to the Governor's Commission at the first meeting of every month. So the committee chair is the person who should do that, collaborating with their groups. The public needs to hear what's happening so that when you come to this meeting and things really get going, you should be able to come to this meeting and get a 5-minute update on what each committee has done over the last month so that we can connect and we can build momentum. The chairs are responsible for making sure that happens. So there are 5 things we're asking you to do as next steps. First, you know what committees you're on. We're asking that you meet and fellowship with your subcommittee members and your chair. So if you're walking out and you know, meet somebody, connect with them. The chairs will have your information. We're circulating a spreadsheet with everyone's contact information, so the chairs will be able to get in contact with you. But don't waste an opportunity to meet your neighbor or meet your fellow committee member. Second, we're asking that you work with your chair to establish a meeting structure and a schedule that allows you to get together. So if your plan was to come here tonight and then tell your chair and your fellow committee members that you can't meet for 3 weeks, that's not a good plan. We need you to figure out how we can start getting together to work on this information immediately. Third, we need you to start working to develop a vision for your subcommittees. Each of your committees has a different task. You guys are supposed to be the experts or looking to be future experts on these subjects. Each of your committees has to have a vision. I can tell you, Mr. Ejike already has an idea of what the planning committee should be doing. Joel will tell you, I have a very clear idea of what economic development should be doing. But I'm looking to get input and hear from other people. You need to come to your committee meeting with an idea of what you think your committee should be doing. So if you arrive and you're in your committee and you just came because you don't know and you want somebody to tell you, come with some idea of what you want to see happen in your city. And then finally, the last couple of things, conduct some research on best practices and outreach to experts. So if you think something should be done, don't just come to the meeting and say, do this thing. Say, do this thing because I researched or I saw that in Kansas City, this is what they're doing and it's a best practice and we should research it for Stonecrest. And then finally, prepare a report. The next Governor's Commission that the Community Council will be asked to present will be on Thursday, February 2nd. It'll be in this room. So we've got a handful of weeks in order to make January count. So each of the committees will need to meet and the committee chairs need to be prepared to tell the Governor's Commission and the citizens what we did with that time. So with that, that's kind of the stuff we wanted to make sure to go over with you tonight. We will email this information to everyone and I'll take any questions and Mr. Thibodeau is here to help me with any questions as well. Mr. Waits?
Last week, there was like 5 people that had qualified or going to qualify. I think it's 14 now. If we can have them to stand for the city council and the mayor.
Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me. This is the citizens.
We just want to know who they are.
So yeah, they have a right to know and see who wants to represent them.
Okay, so
Can I just sorry, and also is there gonna be a formal or informal introduction of these people? Are you gonna have a debate, or are you gonna let us know?
Okay, wait, all right, let me answer that. Let me answer that question first, okay? Our charge is to put the city together, okay? That's our charge. We don't want to come across as though we are promoting or advocating for any particular candidate above another, okay? What we did do is on the webpage, we did publish all of the qualified candidates. What we are expecting, just like when you have your regular elections for state house, state senate, commission, and everything else, that our community groups, the churches, the NAACP, and those organizations will hold the types of forums that they normally have in every other election, okay? If it so happens that we don't see that, somebody may approach them and say, hey, you know, we've got an election in Stonecrest, are you gonna have a forum? But we don't see that it's the role of the community committee, the community council, or the governor's commission to actually hold a forum, okay? That's for private or nonprofit or church groups to do that on behalf of the citizens based on what their outlook is.
So with that, before we dive into some other questions, I'm gonna just close out what Mr. Waits asked. If we have any candidates for mayor of the city of Stonecrest, can you come down to the front? Everybody wants to see who's in the room. If anybody who's running for mayor of Stonecrest, please come down to the front. All right. All right. So, if you all could just quickly state your names. We don't want to get in credentials, we just want to know who you are.
My name is Jason Larry, founder and president of Stonecrest Yes, president of Stonecrest City Alliance, JasonLarryForMayor.com.
All right.
My name is Bernard Smith. I'm not officially on the ballot.
Thank you.
I'm not officially on the ballot. My job was to make sure that the right person was running for me. Mr. Larry never called me back.
So Mr. Smith, wait. I'm sorry because I'm managing this meeting, and what I said is we only need people. I don't have to do anything. What I have to do is respect the people in the room, and all I'm saying to you is we didn't ask for any credentials, and I don't have time for speeches. So if you could, you're not on the ballot. If you could have a seat. Wait, you're not on the ballot. If you could have a seat. Any candidates for District 1 in the room, please come to the front. I'm not running for office, so I could. So any candidates for District 1, please come to the front and introduce yourself. Please, sir. Please, sir. No, you can't give a speech. You can't give a speech right now.
I'm not giving a speech.
Point of order.
Excuse me.
Well, I'm a citizen here.
The citizen who asked the question asked if any candidates would show themselves. Qualifying closed yesterday.
Yes.
The ballots are set.
But they're still.
The ballots are set. You're not on the ballot. All right, so candidates for District 1, no speeches. Please just introduce yourselves to the group. And I think it's okay for you to give your website, if you have one.
I can do both at the same time. My name is Jimmy Clanton, District 1. My web address is Jimmy. I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Jimmy Clanton Jr. Candidate for District 1. My web address is jimmyclantonjr.com. Thank you very much. Charles Ross, District 1.
All right. Any candidates in the room for District 2? Please introduce yourself.
I am Dr. Gretchen Swarber, candidate for District 2. You can find more information about me at drgretchenjswarber.com.
My name is Robert Turner for District 2.
My email is electrobturner.com.
Good evening, my name is Pledge Joyner, candidate for District 2. My website is pledgeforstonecrest.com.
All right. Any candidates in the room for District 3?
Come on, Eric, people want me. You gotta get out the seat first. Eric and I have become good friends over the next couple of months. Hi, Jasmine Cobble for councilwoman.com, District 3.
Good evening. I'm Eric Hubbard, and I'm a candidate for District 3. You can go to my website, Hubbard for Stonecrest, or you can email me, Eric at Hubbard for Stonecrest. Thank you all. Good night.
All right. Any candidates in the room for District 4?
Hello, my name is Mary Pet Hector. My website is marypethector.com, and I will be ready for City Council for Post 4.
Good evening. My name is George Turner. I'm at George Turner 4, District4.com.
Good evening. My name is Jesse J. Cunningham, running for council for District 4, and my email is jcunningham2014@yahoo.com.
All right. Thank you. And any candidates in the room running for District 5?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Diane Daniels-Adoma. I'm a businesswoman, and I am running for City Council, District 5. Thank you.
Hello, neighbors. My name is Tammy Grimes. Many of you do know me. I am running for District 5, Stonecrest. ElectGrimes17.com.
Good morning, ladies. Good evening. Good evening. I am Lloyd Morrison, and I am running for City Council, District 5. I can be contacted at lloydmorrison17@gmail. Also, you can go to my website at lloydmorrison2017.com.
All right, so that answers your question. Round of applause. It takes a lot to step forward and submit yourself to the citizens and run for office. And so regardless of how that turns out, we appreciate each and every one of you for your efforts to represent us. So thank you. Other questions? Did you have one? No, Rashawn. Did you have a question? You forgot? All right, other questions?
Before we adjourn, could we at least maybe go to the four corners of the room with and at least have a face-to-face with the other members of our committees?
Absolutely. We have this venue until 9. So for after we adjourn, if the chairs would like to meet in the respective corners. So why don't we do this in an orderly fashion? First of all, can the chairs stay for a few minutes to meet with their folks? Okay. Vernon?
Not a question, just a final comment. One of the best things about the Stonecrest area is going to be the park. You have more land in this part of the county than anywhere else. It's vacant, open land. You have a national heritage area. And if you work it right, that brings tourists, that brings visitors, that brings dollars. That's a treasure that we have. And so that's what separates Stonecrest. I just wanted to kind of talk about that because that is so important. And let's keep it clean, let's keep it active, and let's keep it safe. So I just wanted, that is the biggest treasure I think we have in Stonecrest.
Thank you.
Radio Mountain.
So what I'll ask that happens is if, since Patrick is right here, if the Parks and Recreation Committee could meet down here in the front in this corner, if you're here and you have time, Planning and zoning, I'm sorry. Planning, he mentioned parks. Planning and zoning down here in the front corner. Since Mira is in the rear, if those of you who are on Parks and Recreation could go toward the back corner. If you are on the Economic Development Committee, you could just walk around here and meet me on the stage. If you are on the Administrative Committee, you can come to the front stage and connect with Sean. If you are on Code Enforcement and Beautification, if you don't mind coming down to the front of the stage and meeting with Miss Emmanuel, and anyone who's on the Community Affairs Committee. Community Affairs, the two chairs are Michael Williams and Dr. Lee. If you can just meet in the back of the room. And with that, I suppose this means our meeting is adjourned. Yeah.